Stand for the pledge. Dr. Mullen, could you lead us in the pledge, sir?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a moment of silence for the men and women in the armed forces and the 300 people that passed in the Sri Lanka incident. May their memory be eternal. Thank you.
Before then, on the meeting order?
Yes, I did read it.
Really? You got it. Okay. Next up is an update. I've asked State Representative Bill Buckley from the 67th to talk about the budget process up in Hartford. Thank you, Mr. Representative.
Thank you for the council for having me stop in and say hello. It's been a little bit since I've seen everybody. I wish I had more information right now as we're going into session tomorrow and Wednesday. Will be our last two regular session days with basic, some things need to be addressed, more housekeeping more so as far as the House goes, but we're waiting on the two committees to come in. They haven't finished up quite yet with appropriations and finance. Those are the two big hitters that everybody wants to hear what's going on. So until they get done, there's not a whole lot more to report. But just so that some of the question has been in the process and how the process works. And as everything comes out of committee, bills that pass out of committee aren't set in stone, and they're by no means finished and completed. They've been through public hearing, and they've had the chance for people to vet those bills and to see exactly what's there. They all should have full language coming to us at this point. But those, if I had to guess, before we started the committee process, we're looking at probably about 3,000 bills that were put forward to committee. A fraction of those will come through to make it through to the opportunity of the House and Senate to look at, depending on where it came from to start with. And the House bills will be decided what we address by the Speaker of the House, and the Senate bills will be addressed by the President of the Senate. So once it goes through one House, it goes to the other, and then we'll have a look at which they are. So the bills that are be coming to us likely early on. There's discussion of the, obviously the budget, which is our primary focus, is why we're here for the year, is to get our budget moving forward. We did push forward. There were a couple of bills to push to get the budget done earlier so that the towns could be aware of what dollars would be available and what wasn't going to be available to the townships and the municipalities. And we have the bills that tie to that. The tolls bill, the marijuana bill, all the bills everyone wants to talk about right now that we're waiting on final verbiage and final votes as they come out. And just as we receive final word and all the legality is there and all the legalese is put in that all these lawyers know how to use well, some of that gets changed and some of that are amended on the floor. So as much as there may be wonderful bills that are coming out, and there's bills that are ones that we want to support or not support, none of them have that final verbiage until it's brought to vote. Those amendments can be strike-all amendments where they take everything out of the bill and you don't know what you're voting on. So it's tough to support a bill coming out of committee until you see the final language. So, for example, last year and the year before there was a bill for, 2 years ago really came out, was the bear hunting in Litchfield County. And it passed the House, got to the Senate, and there was a strike-all amendment to change the bill to ivory not being allowed in the state. Had nothing to do with bears, had nothing to do with hunting. But that's what the strike-all amendment was, and the bill died on the floor. So just because the title of a bill sounds great, and some of the verbiage may sound wonderful, it doesn't mean that's what we're going to be voting on. So that's the process now, is not only looking for the bills that are coming through that we all want to look for the best interest of our town. We want to make sure those bills have strong language to support it completely. The tolls bills, there's multiple tolls bills that are coming out. One of them actually supports trains to New Milford in the toll bill, which sounds fantastic. But the question is the funding going to be allowed to come from that in the way it's laid out? And that's the question we have now that we're looking into more information on. So there's a lot of changing aspects to each bill that comes out, But that's the process now, and that's why it's so very important to follow as closely as you can, because some of that happens at the drop of a hat. It really happens that quickly. I've seen 600-page strike all amendments where they take everything out of the bill and it's all something new. And here's a 600-page amendment that changes everything in the bill, and we're going to vote on it in 10 minutes. Which is why I firmly believe that sometimes it's an old Calvin Coolidge line. Sometimes it's better to vote no for a bad bill than vote yes for a good bill. And it's important that we do what we can to protect what we can for the town of Milford, for education-wise, education purposes, as well as for any assistance from the town, or to the town, that we are hoping for. It's happened poorly for us in the last 2 years, and we're hoping that we can rectify this a little bit for the municipalities that it affects. It happens to be, in the last budget, more helped the cities than the towns, and it was a tough thing for all of us to do. Do we love the budget? No. But we had to have a budget, so it came away from the governor having full control, which was hurting us even more. So I'm happy to answer any questions from town council if you have any questions for me. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have as many answers as you'd probably like to have, or as I'd like to have at this point too. But certainly things I'm willing to address. You're more than willing to give me a call or drop me an email to the address in Hartford, as that's where I'll be again for the next 2 days, and then really looks like most of the next month. Some days will be 4 or 5 days. I know that the schedule I got the other day looks like the week after Labor Day. It's Tuesday. Question? The week after Memorial Day. Is that what I said? Sorry. Did I say Labor Day? Well, we were there after Labor Day last time, too. We were last time. That's the problem. But the week after Memorial Day, Tuesday through Saturday, we'll be in Hartford. We have Sunday off and back in on Monday. So the hours start getting a little crazier, and a lot more of those bills come up. And that's the time to be in touch and see, because it all happens in real time. As much as we can plan ahead of time, it all happens in real time as it's going down, which is probably the biggest learning curve in being up there that I've learned in the last couple of years, and what I'm still going to be learning as we go. But I'm happy to field any questions that any of you might have.
Yeah, I got a couple.
Mike?
Hi, Bill. Thanks for coming out tonight. I'm sorry I'm late. Do you see the education monies being put back into the budget to the towns, or is it too soon to tell? Or
A little too soon to tell.
What's the flavor up there?
It's really difficult. This year is different, much different than it was 2 years ago when we addressed the budget to start with. There's a lot of new representation in that committee, and in the Appropriations Committee, and in the Finance Committee. And that's what it really comes down to. Appropriations and Finance are where all the changes are going to happen right now. And as much as I'd love to say I see more for us, it's too soon to tell.
Thank you.
Sure, of course.
Any other questions for Representative Buckley? Thank you, Bill.
Please
appreciate
keep
the
posted.
update.
Please reach out. Let me know if you have more questions. I'll be keeping a close eye for all of everyone's emails too. We respond to everyone that we get, and happy to, even if I don't have an answer, happy to respond anyway. But thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
I do.
Bill, what's your email address? I'll put it in the minutes.
It's bill.buckby@ctgop.com.
I just have one comment. I just wanted to thank you for hosting the New Milford Day at the Capitol last week. It was very nice. You and the goat.
Thanks for that. The New Milford Day is something we brought in last year for the first time, because I was going into the Capitol and seeing Hartford Day, New Haven Day, Bridgeport Day, Danbury Day, and I said all these cities have their own day. What's wrong with the towns? What's wrong with the biggest town having their own day? And they said, well, you can do it if you want to put it together. So we put it together last year, and it shocked a lot of people across the state, that the ones that didn't know that we have everything here from Kimberly-Clark's to Kimberly Farms, to have large manufacturing. And the one thing that a lot of the people told me, aside from loving the baby goats, because baby goats are, who doesn't love holding a baby goat, but to have the sense of community that was felt there with the children who came up to visit. We had great representation from the youth agency and Girl Scouts, and to have the Children's Center there and have different people that represented a lot of the different parts of our community. They felt the sense of community up there, which I think is probably one of the strongest points of our town. So
It was great. Thanks for doing
thank
it.
you all very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 4, consent agenda. Motion.
Second.
I have one item that I would like to make a comment on. Let's it's not quite the meaning of what the person said. Under public comment, the third person to speak was Jeff Winter. And the last sentence of what it says here, he also asked about the committee to determine nonprofit funding and how there were no agendas or minutes. He actually said it was about missing agendas and minutes, not that there were none for the whole committee. So I just wanted to make a change there, make a note of that.
And you okay with the seconder with the adjustment to the?
Okay with that? Okay.
Any other discussion on the consent agenda? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And then can we add something, 2 items to the agenda?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francis.
I'd like to add item 9 for the appointment to Board of Finance. And add item 10, which will be a motion to accept a gift to Parks and Rec.
Do I have a second on the? Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Okay. One member?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Item 5, finance update, Director of Finance.
Good evening. This report is as of March 31st. We're approaching the end of fiscal year 19, and as such, our auditors will be in New Milford on May 6th to do their preliminary field testing for the 2019 audit. The finance office recently did some spring cleaning of old files, and I came across an audit report from 1946. I knew Ray was a pack rat, but I didn't realize the extent of it. So the total budget at that time for the town, believe it or not, was $244,923.59. To put that into perspective, that is equivalent in nominal dollars of the town clerk's budget this fiscal year.
Right, there probably were more cows than people in town.
I'll tell you what, I have this, if you want to, just peruse through it.
No.
Sure.
It's interesting because
I have it if anybody wants to.
Walter has a copy. Thanks.
On the expenditure side of the budget, on a straight line basis, expenditures would be expected to be at 75% expended in March. The town's expenditure are at 71.7%. Without encumbrances, the town expended 68.8% of the revised budget. Police overtime, dispatchers overtime, and public works overtime are all over budget. The Board of Ed expenditures are at 68.2% of budget, not including encumbrances. On the revenue side of the budget, total revenues are at 88.6% of budget. Taxes tax collection are very good. They're at 98.6% of budget. Stiff interest is $226,000 over budget, and unclassified revenues are $29,000 over budget with 3 months left to go in the fiscal year. Overall, we have collected $90,448,932 in revenues, while expending $70,833,516, leaving the town with a positive cash flow of $19,615,416. Any questions?
Kind of an aside as well, when Greg had mentioned the police overtime and dispatch overtime. So we've looked at that, talked to the chief, and the solutions are twofold. First, with the regular police overtime, with our new contract that was approved by the town council in January, we're able to mitigate a lot of those costs by having the overlap in hours that was agreed to by the police union. So we're seeing a definite reduction in overtime because of that. Also with the dispatch, we had one person that was on, as we spoke about a couple of months ago, we had one person who was on disability causing immediate overtime. That person's back on the job. Also, we've hired another dispatcher to replace one that is left. And now we have also hired a part-time dispatcher. We're looking for that. So what that will do is mitigate the overtime hours comparative to a part-time hour. So we're looking for the reduction in overtime in that department as well. With the public works, this year we had a lot of ice versus snow, which learning that is actually more costly per event than it would be a real snowstorm. So within the public works budget, there's monies to be moved around to cover that expense. So the actual public works department itself is on budget, so we'll be able to move some of those funds around to cover that shortfall. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
That works.
Dr. Mullin?
Two things. You said you had a meeting with the auditors coming up May 6th, but you've been meeting with them all along, correct?
No, this is for 2019. This is for the current fiscal year.
All right. Secondly, of the budget, any concerns, anything that stands out to you that's different from previous 2 or 3 years?
Well, the rear tax collections aren't as robust as I would hope, but I intend, and the current tax collection rate is very, very good. So I'm looking for other mitigating factors such as the excess money in the stiff interest, the under budget position in unemployment compensation, as well as the robust current tax collections to mitigate that situation.
My last question is, we've got a big break this year on health insurance. Now,
Coming in next year.
that's going to be in our upcoming budget.
Right.
After that, we're not going to get the break. I mean, it's going to be lower from where it was, but we're not going to get the decrease we had. Any concerns about that going forward?
See, this is all, that's still a moving target as we speak, Doc, because we budgeted roughly 8.3% increase over the past year's premium in the state partnership plan. So, we still don't know which way that's going to go yet.
Okay.
But again, that's why, we need to stay on top of these things and really pay attention to what's going on.
And Dr.
But it's a
Mullin,
cost avoidance more so than a savings.
Right. Just the last question. Interest on our money, which is in several different places.
Right.
How's that for the year so far?
Again, the stiff interest is about $244,000 above budget. So
Okay.
we're doing well in that area.
Thank you, Mayor.
any other questions? Thank you, Greg.
Item 6, item 6A, move to accept. We didn't close this, did we?
Yeah.
This one we did? Sorry, I wasn't listening. Motion to accept the amendment to ordinance Chapter 2, Article 14, Aquifer Protection Commission.
Any discussion on the public hearing? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Item 6B, move to accept amendment to ordinance Chapter 8A-5, Item A, Commission membership, qualifications, terms of office, officers, and alternate members.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Item 7, town meetings. Item A, pursuant to Section 901A of the Town Charter, we have a motion to call the annual town meeting for 7 p.m. on May 7th, 2019, E. Paul Martin Room, New Milford Town Hall, 10 Main Street, for the purpose of 1, discussing the budget as proposed by the Board of Finance. Item 2, setting the date and time for a machine vote on said budget. Item 3, ratification of ordinance Chapter 2, Article 11, establishing a municipal building committee. And item 4, vote on a resolution with respect to 495 Kent Road. Item 7B, do you want
We
to
have
vote
to
on that one separately? Sure.
So moved.
Thank you.
Any discussion?
Just a point of clarification to state on the record that 495 Kent Road has paid all of its back taxes and interest, and now it is considered a straight-up donation as opposed to a real estate transaction.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, so we have a
Thank you, Matt.
motion and a second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Item
Then
7B.
We'll pass this around for you to sign.
Okay. Item 7B, pursuant to Section 902B of the Town Charter, I move to recommend the date of Tuesday, May 21st, 2019, between the hours of 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. as the date and times for a machine vote on the 2019-20 proposed budget.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Item 8. You go next, sorry.
Actually, what we can do is do the other two, and then we'll do mayor's comments at the end. If that's okay with the council?
Okay with me. Item 9, move the appointment of Corey Linder as a regular member to the Board of Finance, replacing the Joe DiGregorio, term to be from April 22nd, 2019 through November 30th, 2019.
And, thank you. We have a second. And just for housekeeping, Mr. DeGorio resigned from his Board of Finance seat as he has commitments for his business and his family. And we thank Mr. DeGorio for all his work for the community and hope when times allow, he can volunteer again. And Mr. Linder is an alternate on the Board of Finance now, and expressed interest, as Dr. Mullen had emailed me, that he was interested in taking the full seat for the Board of Finance, and that is a Democrat seat. So,
Great. Good.
okay. Anybody have any questions? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Okay. Item 10, move to accept a donation to the New Milford Parks and Recreation Department of a red maple tree planting and plaque donated by the Roger Sherman Chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution.
So move.
And Kay, would you like to talk
Pretty
about this?
risque group.
I know it. I know. Peter knows it well. Yeah, this is for Arbor Day. We had a few trees that needed to come down on the green, and the Roger Sherman Chapter wanted to donate a tree for Arbor Day. It was a very nice ceremony. Will be done on Friday at noon on the green. This tree will be placed next to the monument with the bell on the top, sort of across from the St. John's entrance. So we hope Friday to commemorate Arbor Day, lots of people come out at noon.
And
Who planting the tree? Who's
Eminence.
helping us?
Emmons.
Sean?
And that's right.
Great.
And the Parks and Rec Commission wanted to thank the Roger Sherman Chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution, for their generosity.
Awesome.
we have a motion. Right there.
We have a
And
motion. Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And then I'll be real brief on the mayor's comments. First, real quick, on Sunday, there was a small machine fire at Kimberly Clark. I'd just like to thank the first responders, police, fire, and the volunteers from the other fire departments, Brookfield, Danbury, for coming to our aid. I spoke with Gary Wright, the mill manager, today, and with their extensive training that they have with their people as well. There was a small fire put out. They already had their lines open late last night and again today. So we'd like to thank all those first responders for all of their hard work that they continue to do for our town. Second is I'd like to thank everybody that came to the Coffee with the Mayor on Saturday. It was great to hear people's concerns and also some of the things that they thought that the town is doing very well. So we thank them for that. I'd also like to thank the DAR, our veterans, the New Milford Police Honor Guard, as well as the Veterans Honor Guard, DAR, for our Patriots Day, our first one, and the militia from Litchfield who fired off some muskets. So it was great to have everybody here. We had a packed house. It was great to celebrate Patriots Day, the first one in New Milford. I'd like to congratulate the Makery Rias Learning Center, Create a Castle, Lasting Impressions Hand Stamped Jewelry, and Goat Boy Soaps, who were all awarded at this year's Connecticut Entrepreneur Awards. 10 awards in all. So that was outstanding for the business community in New Milford. So that was great. Also like to inform the council, when you approved the $10,000 grant for the JAG Local Violent Crime Prevention Grant Program, that money allowed our chief to extend, which you'll see in the summertime, extend some walking for our walking police officer that will be instituted in the spring and summer, and some additional resources for our downtown when it comes to police patrols and police safety. So the chief wanted me to thank the town council for their approval of this, and also to Tammy Reardon, the grant writer, for that. I'd also like to thank, as Councilwoman Francis already did, State Representative Buckby, Richard Smith, State Representative Richard Smith, and State Senator Craig Minor for celebrating the Milford Day at the Capitol. We had, I believe, 32 businesses and nonprofits that represented New Milford, and it was great for them to show their New Milford pride up there. So that was a wonderful thing to see. Also like to congratulate our two 2019 Da Vinci Award winners, Lisa Marie Agee and Rob Beebe, in honor of their commitment to our community and service of our wonderful town. And that was something that was created in honor of flagman Peter Orinsky. And it's just great to see that we're keeping that alive. And I'd like to thank Bob Capola and Katie Francis for continuing on with that tradition. I'd also like to thank the Boy Scouts, Troop 432. They had a great pancake breakfast at the VFW for Palm Sunday. I'd just like to thank them for all they do, and that was a great pancake breakfast. I'd like to thank Weantanog, the Executive Director, Catherine Rawson, Director of Land Conservation, Paul Icklin, and the Board of Directors, the New Milford Youth Agency, and the Foundation Chairman, Bob Bailey, and all the volunteers that improved the Mount Tom Preserve. If you haven't gone up there yet, it's a beautiful walk. They put in new bridges, some new planks. If you get a chance, if you walk it, you can go all the way up to the lookout. You can see for miles. It's a beautiful walk. So if you get a chance, check that out. Real quick on a couple updates. The Senior Center last week provided 94 individuals with services concerning medical, financial, chore services, and health and safety issues. They also held their Coffee with the Counselors event with a total of 33 seniors that attended that event. And that's more to learn about banking, online safety banking for seniors, to make sure there's no frauds or inappropriate processes in some of their accounts. And Jen Birdseye from Webster Bank was there to help facilitate that. Other programs, the Senior Center did 542 participants, also were in other various programs and activities. They celebrated their April birthdays with desserts and balloons, as they always do every month. We want to thank them for that. They also did 186 rides, and they had 67 volunteer hours as well. So we thank those volunteers that help in the Senior Center along with the personnel. As far as the New Milford Health Department, they were working on a case with childhood lead poisoning, and you'd think that's kind of, something that happened in the 70s or 80s, but there are some old homes that still have that lead paint. So if you had any questions, Mr. Crespin wanted to let you know, and we're going to put it on our town page as well, that you can get any questions provided to the New Milford Health Department at 860-355-6035 or the Connecticut Department of Public Health, and they can help you about checking for lead poisoning, making sure if there is any lead paint in there, how to remediate that as well. So we thank Mr. Crespin for that. Also, Eversource wanted to let us know that the month of April is Clean Lines month. And what that means is basically that there's some certain things, especially now people are working on their yards, working on their properties, that there's some things you need to do prior to that. The first is call before you dig, and that's 811. It also recommends some safety tips while you're working around your house, and we're also going to have this on our webpage as well. Check for overhead lines when using ladders to clean gutters or long-handled pool vacuum that could reach within 10 feet of the lines. Don't let Mylar balloons be party spoiler. Never attempt to retrieve a balloon, kite, or debris that becomes entangled in an overhead power line. Using power tools outside, make sure the extension cords are marked for the outdoor. Damage or overloaded cords may lead to electric shock or serious injury. So we just want to make sure that we follow the rules as Eversource wants us to, so we all can be safe. Real quickly as well, economic development front, Karen Pollard, who's back there, thank you for coming, Karen, our economic development director, and myself met at with the Connecticut Brokers Association at the Bleachery. It was very, very well attended with commercial realtors from all over the area, and they came in to kind of find out more about New Milford, the Bleachery, and the wonderful opportunities we have here. It was great to hear kind of what they had to say about New Milford and the opportunities that they see we have as well as us. So I'd like to thank Karen, I'd like to thank the Bleachery and everyone involved in bringing that to fruition. Also for Park and Rec, Len Deming Park is going to be starting construction upgrades starting on Tuesday all the way through Friday, May the 24th. And these are the security upgrades that the Town Council and the Board of Finance approved, which will be the gates, cameras, and also they're going to be training the new security company that won the bid per the bid award. So we're very excited about Len Deming reopening. You still are going to be able to go and visit the Len Deming property. Just be careful, and they ask you to stay away from the construction areas. So that being said, I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Mayor.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Please don't.